Hello and welcome to race number 5 of this nr2003 2007 car set season, but it follows the real life 2026 schedule. Kurt Busch has put it up on the pole position for today's race, but before we do get into the starting lineup, let us take a look at the points heading into this race so you can see where your favorite driver stacks up. On the pole position is Kurt Busch, and lining up next to him is Jeff Gordon. We have to go to the helicopter cam because the pit road camera kind of sucks. Martin Truex Jr. and Jeff Burton in row number 2, with Carl Edwards and Kevin Harvick in row number 3. Ryan Newman and Kyle Busch in row number 4, and Bobby Labonte and Tony Stewart round out the top 10. A great qualifying effort for Labonte. Matt Kenseth and Greg Biffle make up row number 6, with Casey Mears and Jamie McMurray in row number 7. Boyer and Reed Swenson make up row number 8. I don't know why I just said the last names. Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Juan Pablo Montoya make up row number 9, with Elliott Sadler and Mark Martin right behind them in row number 10. Denny Hamlin and David Gillen make up row number 11, with Tony Raines and Dave Blaney behind them. David Stremme and David Reagan make up row number 13, with Robbie Gordon and Ricky Rudd behind them. Paul Menard lines up in the 29th position next to Jimmy Johnson in row 15. Johnson, a horrible qualifying effort for his 48 car, who is the favorite to win today based on the test races I've run. Casey Kane and Jeff Green make up row number 16, with Scott Riggs and Brian Vickers right behind them. Kyle Petty and Sterling Marlin in row number 15, with Jeremy Mayfield and John Andretti in row number 17. 18, I mean. I had to take a second to think. Kevin LePage and AJ Allmendinger in row number 20. Row number 19. Row number 20 is JJ Yeley and John Wood. And row 21 is Michael Waltrip. I probably messed that up multiple times. Anyway, with that out of the way, with my bumbling out of the way, let's go down trackside to get the command to fire up engines. We're just gonna let it run so I don't have to do like 5 tries to get through with this. So I guess I just get the yap with you until we have like 5 seconds left. So I guess I'll tell you the stage lengths: 37, 83, and 134 are the stage ends. But let's go down trackside for the command to fire up engines from Las Vegas. Fabulous Las Vegas, by the way.
Drivers, start your engines.
Engines are fired up from the Las Vegas Motor Speedway, and you're going to watch the grid of all of your favorite drivers roll off here. So Kurt Busch and Jeff Gordon make up your front row. They will lead the field to green. And we already went over the stage lengths, but in case you did not hear me, it is lap 37 for the end of stage 1, lap 83 for the end of stage 2, lap 134 for the end of the race. Your typical fuel run is about 30 or so laps, but with increased tire wear for this race and lack of grip on the older tires, we may see people pit earlier. Keys to the race: keep it out of trouble, save your tires, and be there at the end. And also, beat the 48 of Jimmy Johnson, who appears to be the favorite to win this race. As the field rolls around turn 3 and 4 at a steady pace, the pace car is going to take a hard lap down to pit road, and we are going to be green from the Las Vegas Motor Speedway for the 5th round of this season. Green flag is in the air. We are racing from Las Vegas. And already it's Kurt Busch with an early jump into turn 1. Truex pushes him out to the lead. Gordon trying to hang up top though. Busch may have a bit of a challenge from Martin Truex Jr. if he hadn't blocked down oil, but he's going to come around and lead the first lap of the race. And every race so far this season, except for Daytona, has had an early caution. Atlanta, they wadded it up on lap number 5. Dakota, they didn't even make it past turn 7 before wadding it up. Phoenix, they didn't make it to lap 15. And obviously, they're trying to get into an earlier version here so they don't unnecessarily tear up people's equipment as Jeff Gordon dives down low on Kurt Busch to make a move for the race lead, and we are now 3 laps into this race. Kurt Busch hanging on the outside here. You're going to see that outside lane have a ton of momentum today. Which driver can make the bottom way through the turns? Because you have to lift a little bit when you're next to someone down low. Truex Jr. is going to make Gordon go wide. The best spot to pass someone on the bottom here is on exit, where you find them vulnerable. And you can really make your move stick. Edwards goes to cover off Kevin Harvick, who tries to make a run, but Gordon's going to rip around the outside of Truex Jr., and Jeff Burton's going to take advantage of this as well. He will clear Martin Truex Jr. Now Edwards looking for a move to the inside on the 1 car. Truex having a terrible 7 laps right here. Truex seemed to have maybe kissed the wall a little bit there in turn 4 on the exit of 4. But he's still going strong. As they head in, we got a caution. There's your early yellow. Paul Menard, Robbie Gordon, David Gilliland also caught up in it. Gilliland, how horrible luck this season with being caught up in crashes since his Daytona 500 victory. Paul Menard and Robbie Gordon were running about... Well, Robbie was running in 27th when he got spun around by the... Oh, Gilliland went around first. So let's take a look again at what happened to Robbie. Actually, let's take a look at what happened to Gilliland. So Gilliland is side by side with Blaney. Bam, beats the wall. Bam, comes down into Blaney. And Gilliland was lucky to not get clobbered by someone, because that would have been the end of his day early for what, the 4th race in a row? Well, he didn't have his day ended early in Atlanta. He got taken out late though. So Robbie gets turned by Dale Jarrett, Ricky Red. Bam! Doored into by Paul Menard. And that's why we saw so much separation in the groups. And you know, we look, and the yellow light is on. So as they come around, back to the caution, if they don't wad it up. Hopefully they didn't wad it up behind them and unnecessarily junk someone. But you see Dave Blaney going slowly as we look to pit road for the first pit stops of the day. And it'll be Kurt Busch who wins off pit road. We just caught the end of those pit stops. And if Jimmy Johnson makes it to the front today, as you see Kyle Busch, Greg Biffle, and Carlo Edwards all with slow pit stops. But if Jimmy Johnson is at the front of the field by the end of this race, he is disadvantaged with how far down back in pit road his pit stall is. Gilliland gets some repairs, still comes out ahead of John Wood and David Reagan. Paul Menard is out of this race. They're still trying to get the 7 of Robbie Gordon out here. Dave Blaney is also out here somewhere. There he is. And Blaney's going to come back down pit road, and Robbie Gordon is now out of the race. They were not able to get that 7 car repaired. I truly wonder why. We're going to be coming back to the green flag though. It'll be Kurt Busch ahead of Jeff Gordon and Jeff Burton as they come around turn 4 to take the green flag once again. Green flag's back in the air. Kurt Busch, a great jump over Jeff Gordon. Busch away with the lead for 1 and 2. As you see the field stringing out down the back straightaway here on this first lap of the restart. Dave Blaney very slow. They may call him off the track if he can't pick up the pace. But Kurt Busch still leading the field, and on fresh tires is your best chance to make a pass on someone and on one of these first 2 laps of the restart. But here's Jimmy Johnson further back. You see that blue, black, and silver 48 car? He is up to the 17th spot already. He's lurking in the distance. You see Kyle Busch trying to make up positions. Kevin LePage right there gets the wall. Michael Waltrip getting passed by a few people. There you see the 55 of Waltrip in his first start of the year. I believe it is. I can't remember if he made Daytona. I'll pull up the point sheet and see. But there's Scott Riggs making a move on Kyle Petty, I believe that was. I switched cameras too fast. Kurt Busch still leading the pack. Oh yeah, Waltrip did run at Daytona, now I remember, because he was like top 5 in the points after the first race. So Michael Waltrip's second race of this season, but it's still Kurt Busch leading over Jeff Burton. Burton may have made a move to the inside here. As we continue to watch some of these cars that got buried in traffic, along with Juan Montoya and Greg Biffle. Newman gets in the wall, almost comes back down into Martin Truex Jr. Let's take a ride with Jeff Gordon in the 24 car. You see, they might deal with Blaney pretty soon. He's about 3 seconds a lap slower, so they are actually going to pull the 22 car off the racetrack here. Just because of how absurdly slow he's going. Hopefully this doesn't affect the battle for the lead, but we shall see. Blaney's going to get off track safely and he'll be out of the race. Free wide doesn't work often. Montoya almost goes around. And you see Edwards slotting in between Tony Raines and David Stremme. Gordon to the outside of Jeff Burton. Can he make it stick? Yes, he can. Move the 24 car into that second position. Now he can set sail after Kurt Busch. He's going to take a look to the inside. Lets the 2 car know he's there. And look who's here. Jimmy Johnson trying to break into the top 10. He started 29th. And he's going to be in the top 10 by the time we reach lap 20. Denny Hamlin also having a solid run. And we got a caution. Michael Waltrip and John Wood around off too. Hopefully they can stay out of the way. I don't know why these guys are still flying around here. But Waltrip, who we were just talking about in his second start of the year, goes around off turn 2 with John Wood in the 21, making his first start of the year. Unfortunately for Waltrip and Wood, it is not going too well here on lap number 20. So this was for 38th. Yeah, I think that's pretty self-explanatory. Waltrip just clears himself there on the 21 car, but I believe we will have pit stops again. And you look how early Jimmie Johnson has to pit. This is what I was talking about. What could cost him track position, what could cost him time if we do get green flag pit stops later on in the day. As you see Kurt Busch getting his service, trying to still be the race leader. When they come off pit road, it may go to Matt Kenseth. If he's not careful, Kurt Busch will be the race winner off pit road. And Johnson seems to have gotten ahead of Hamlin. There you see Harvick with a bit of a bad pit stop. Casey Kane also still mired in a little bit of traffic. He'll probably have to pull some strategy to be there at the front, but there's his teammate Scott Race behind him. And now we're going to be coming back to the green flag. Jeremy Mayfield seems to be out of the race after a crash, but I didn't see him beat up, so let's take a look in the back. Nobody else seems to be beat up, so we shall see. But the green flag is going to be back in the air as they head through turn 1 and 2. Kenseth making a move down low on Gordon. Gordon trying to hang on to it though, as Kurt Busch scoots away over the race lead. There's Johnson right there in the top 10, trying to maybe be in the top 5 by the time we get to the end of this stage in under 15 laps. I think it can be done, especially with that driver behind the wheel of the 48 car. Hamlin up the racetrack, Johnson behind him, as now Kenseth's catching back up to Kurt Busch. And these cars are closer together early on in these runs, but once these tires start to wear, you see the better cars start to pull away. And at the peak of these runs, if we do get a long enough run, you'll see about 4 seconds of fall off from their 25 second laps they're running here. Because right now, we're going to watch the speed on Kurt Busch. 203, 204, 205, 206, 206 miles per hour. You will not see those numbers once we get later on into the runs. Kurt Busch leads him across the line again. He has led every single lap this afternoon. Johnson making the move on Truex Jr. He is into the 8th spot. Anything that starts to worry any of the other competitors out here? We'll see if Jimmie Johnson can hang on to a top 5 spot. If he does get into the top 5 in 10 laps time before the stage end. Currently in 8th, so again, still possible, but we'll see how likely that becomes. And now tire fall off. They're about a 1/10 of a second off of their fastest lap that they ran on the peak of the freshest tires. Once we get a little bit into that run, you know, by the stage end, they're probably going to be running like 26.9s probably. But look at Jeff Gordon side by side with Matt Kenseth. He's going for the 2nd spot now as they roar off into turn 1. Michael Waltrip a little bit off the pace after his spin. So currently the free pass would go to John Wood in the 21. So hopefully for Waltrip's team they can fix the car up a little better under this next caution, which is coming in about 8 laps. Jimmie Johnson now hounding Dale Earnhardt Jr. for the 7th spot. Let's see if he can get it from the 8 car. Oh, we got a crash down the front. 2 cars upside down, Biffle and Stremme. Seems like the 21 of John Wood. Oh, huge accident for David Stremme. What in the world happened here? So Biffle's coming off 4, and Sadler actually gets into him, and he gets hit so awkwardly by David Stremme. And look at it, Biffle just slides on his roof down to the infield, and then bam! Stremme gets hit by Allmendinger and Wood, so now he comes tumbling, lands on top of Greg Biffle. What an insane accident that is. So Michael Waltrip now gets to be the free pass because John Wood lost a spot during that. And John Wood is actually going to stay out with Michael Waltrip. I think they're actually going to just pit on the lap down cycle. Kurt Busch, trouble on the pit stop for Kurt Busch. Matt Kenseth is going to get out with the race lead. So Kurt Busch, who has led every single lap to this point, has just lost several spots in the pit. Crucial error for the 2 car. As you see them coming off pit road. Look at the 83, there's Brian Vickers here making another start this season. There's John Andretti, there's Scott Reyes, Elliott Sadler. Seems like he's going to be okay. John Wood's probably going to have to take the hood off his car. Am I correct? Yes, I am. And it'll actually be a little bit of a shootout to the end of this first stage here from Las Vegas. Because we're going to be so close to the end, it'll be about 3 laps to go to the stage end. Kurt Busch has fallen all the way to 10th because of a costly pit stop error. Jimmy Johnson gains a spot out of that. He's up to 7th. I only predicted the top 10 for him at the end of the stage, but he could end up in the top 5 here before this is all said and done. Here we go. Green flag back in the air. And now we're at 100 to go here from Las Vegas. Johnson immediately makes a move on Tony Stewart. Peaks, Lil can't quite get there though. Kenseth now going to probably steal the stage win away. It is much harder to overtake on fresh tires, but here comes Jeff Gordon. Gordon to the bottom. Kenseth up high. Here comes Boyer, Burton, Earnhardt Jr. and Stewart. But now Jeff Gordon leads with 2 to go in the first stage. And here's Jeff Burton on the inside of Clint Boyer, his RCR teammate. Can't quite make the move stick though. And Kenseth immediately going to go to work on Jeff Burton to try to get that position back. Burton gets up the hill. You see David Gillen with problems in pit road. White flag in stage number 1. Can Boyer form a run towards Jeff Gordon to get the stage 1 win as they come down the back straightaway for the final time this stage. And into 3 and 4, it'll be Jeff Gordon ahead of Clint Boyer to win stage 1 from Las Vegas. Gordon, Boyer, Stewart. Sorry, that is Gordon, Boyer, Burton, Kenseth, Stewart, Johnson, Earnhardt Jr., Kurt Busch, Casey Mears, and Ryan Newman. And they're going to be coming back down pit road. I would assume David Gilliland is going to stay out and take a wave around here and get himself back on the lead lap. But John Wood will be the free pass car here under this caution. There's John Wood, the free pass car. Busch hoping for a better pit stop this time from his pit crew instead of losing about 10 positions. Bowyer gets off pit road, and it does appear that David Gillen may be staying out to get the wave around. Jimmy Johnson's going to be in the top 5 for this restart. Kurt Busch potentially just gained a position over Tony Stewart. Yeah, so Gillen will take the wave around and get back on the lead lap. John Wood will get the free pass. So all 36 cars still on the track on the lead lap for this ensuing restart here from the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. And it'll be just over 40 laps to the stage end. Lap 42 when we restart. So that'll be about 42 laps until this next stage break. Here we go. Green flag's gonna be back in the air when they hit the start finish line. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Green flag back in the air. And we are racing again from Las Vegas. Gordon ahead of Bowyer and Burton as they come off turn number 2. Sean Wood seems to be off of the pace a little bit, probably because he's missing hood and hit a flipping car that was on its roof. Here comes Jeff Gordon to lead them across the line. Bowyer not making a move quite yet, but his Childress teammate Jeff Burton might make a move. Jimmy Johnson, top 5 by the time we reach lap 50, and he started 29th. I will be very interested if this stage goes green to see how Johnson has to do in green flag pit stops. I think that'll be the biggest concern for that 48 team. The car's fast enough, the driver's fast enough, but is the pit stall they have been dealt with going to be a detriment? And now Dale Earnhardt Jr. is going to make a move. Kenseth still trying to get by Burton, can't make it happen. That's going to allow Johnson a chance at Kenseth here. If he can get Kenseth up the track here on exit, he'll have a good shot here down in the 1. Here comes Johnson to the bottom. Can't get there though. First battle after this is Casey Mears and Martin Truex Jr., which has already ended. And here comes Denny Hamlin to the inside of Casey Mears. Kyle Busch still trying to recover from an early pit stop blow, same with Carl Edwards. They're going to get by Jeff Green here. John Wood in the 21, about 5 seconds behind the nearest car, 11 seconds behind the leaders currently, so he may be a bit of an issue for these guys in a few laps' time. Kenseth's going to take a shot at Burton again, but Johnson may take him 3 wide. The 48 hounding the 17 car. Gordon, Bowyer, Burton, Kenseth, Johnson, your top 5. Kurt Busch, the pole setter, the guy who led the first 30-something laps. 30-something laps he led, and then his pit crew caused him on pit road. That's just the way things work sometimes. Burton trying to get to the 07 car to get him ahead of Jeff Gordon so they can duke it out his teammates for the race lead. But Gordon's still hanging on to it. And what Johnson's best shot to get by the 17, and the 17's best shot to get on the 31 as he gets the run down the back straightaway. Matt Kenseth going to give another look to going around the 31 of Jeff Burton. Still cannot make it happen. And I think we've had something occur down here. But I, again, don't see anyone off the... maybe Gilland and Yaley? It was. I don't know why this was not a caution. But Yaley gets hit by David Gillen, gets hit by David Gillen in the middle of a lazy slide. John Wood in the 21 is about to get lapped by the race leader, Jeff Gordon. We were just talking a few laps ago about how he may be an issue for these race leaders. Kyle Busch gets into Carl Edwards, and the 5 may have an issue. You can see these guys trying to plan where they were going to pass. John Wood in the 21. Kenseth's going to use him as a pick on both RCR cars. So will Johnson on Burton. He isn't able to get Boyer though. Wood not making things easy for these fast lead lap cars. Now he's going to get passed by Labonte, the 43 car. So right now, Jeff Gordon's best lap is a 26 flat. His tire wear currently has him a second off of that. As we continue to just watch these lead lap cars navigate past John Wood in the 21. And it's ironic because in real life coming into today, the 21 is the defending winner of this race in real life, the Pennzoil 400. But there is probably going to be one guy that clears himself on the 21 and causes a caution. Johnson through the grass. Let's take a look at what happened there. As Jeff Gordon scoots away from these guys with Kenseth, Boyer just got the wall and came down into Johnson, and that was almost a pass in the grass. But he ends up losing out on some positions because of that incident. But Gordon and Kenseth may be in some more lap traffic pretty soon. You see Burton looking on Kurt Busch. These two have gapped this whole group by a good chunk of time. Kenseth gonna look low on Gordon for the race lead. In the 3 and 4 they go. They get to use Michael Waltrip in the 55 as a pick. Waltrip was involved in the crash earlier. Obviously he isn't up to his full pace. And these guys are going to get him here in turn 1. Where's Gordon going? What is kill? We got a crash. We got a crash. Oh, and Gordon gets into Yaley. Jeff Gordon gets into Yaley. They're still piling in. Casey Mears, Dale Earnhardt Jr. involved. Kyle Busch in the 5. Reagan gets into Gordon. Huge accident and huge implications on the lead of the race. I think Kurt Busch may have some damage. Why didn't the 24 slow down? And there's the 6, David Reagan. Major damage to the hood of that car. So we're probably going to have to extend the caution as well. Because of this, because a bunch of the lead-out cars just pitted and are susceptible to being a photo lap down now. Okay, so this was for about P33, and O'Page just drives it in and wipes out Yaley, and they're sliding down. The leaders are not too far behind this, and then, bam, Gordon gets in it. And then it's not over there, it is not over there. Because then Gordon gets into it. Bam! Boyer gets into him. And they're still sliding down the racetrack. And I can't tell where Kurt Busch could have got. Oh yeah, Kurt Busch drives straight into the back of the 34 car. Bam! Mears gets a piece. Earnhardt Jr. And they're all scattering to avoid this. Kyle Busch gets into Clint Boyer. And then, you know, all these guys are just trying to get through. But that is what day enders are made of. Kurt Busch is out of the race with apparent overheating issues. So now we gotta wave all of these guys around the pace car. Waltrip just had an engine failure in front of the field. And then green rain Vickers rings. And 45 for Petty, gonna get waved by. And there's your updated order. I think Casey Mears is supposed to be let around. So that puts John Wood as the only lap down car. Now that that's sorted out, we're going to get our restart with Jeff Burton at the head of the field. So out of the race, Kurt Busch, Michael Waltrip, Quentin Boyer, Kyle Busch, Jeff Gordon, J.J. Ailey, Greg Biffle, David Stremme, A.J. Allmendinger, Jerry Mayfield, Dave Blaney, Robbie Gordon, and Paul Menard. The green flag is back in the air. You see Dale Earnhardt Jr., who took damage in the accident, did not fix his said damage, so now he is slow on the racetrack, and I think Edwards took damage because people are getting held up by him. So a bunch of guys potentially going to lose out on positions because the 8 car does not want to pit. He's not required to fix damage, but it's inconsiderate to stay out with damage. But he's going to get passed by everyone sooner rather than later. So we'll keep an eye on that as Kenseth makes a move on Jeff Burton. And you can see a big gap because of what is currently happening with the 8 car. And Earnhardt Jr. almost goes low to block Hamlin. So there we go. Now that's sorted out. We can focus on the battle for the lead. Kenseth back to 5th now. Here's Jeff Burton and Martin Truex Jr. chasing after Jimmy Johnson. Truex thought about diving low to get past the 31 here down the front straightaway. Wasn't able to pull it off though. Kenseth dropping off from the back of the field, back of the pack. And now it's just the top 4 here at the front. Johnson, Burton, Truex Jr. and Stewart. Now, again, what I'm interested in with Johnson is how will his pit stall affect him? Because yes, he gets to start his service first, but he still is so far back in the pit lane. And I would be concerned if I was checking out to top that pit box as we are on lap 67. If you haven't already, do your 6-7 hits. 6-7, 6-7, 6-7, 6-7, 6-7, 6-7, 6-7. Johnson leads him across the line, lap 68 now. The number that nobody likes because it doesn't have a mean yet. And I think we are just about halfway into this race. But Stewart now looking at to make a move on Martin Truex Jr. for third. They're going to be side by side on the front straightaway. Truex may have brushed the wall a little bit there. Stewart's going to nose ahead into third. And he's going to be easily cleared into turn 1. They're going to come up on Reagan and Earnhardt Jr. here in just a few moments' time to put them a lap down. Reagan will be the first one to get lapped. And obviously, why don't you just pull it to the garage? Well, because every point matters here in the chase. Reagan almost pages Johnson. But that is letting Johnson scoot away because Reagan is roadblocking for Jimmy Johnson. So congratulations, Jimmy Johnson, on the Stage 2 win. Unless something catastrophic happens to him, like what just happened to these 4. But Stewart's going to take a look to the inside on Burton now for a second spot. A second behind Jimmy Johnson. But now they're going to get even more into lap traffic. Here's Dale Jr. running the bottom. He's going to get passed by Burton and Stewart and Truex and Kenseth, who all get the wall as they try to use the top to pass. You know, these lappers are being respectful, mostly, except for Casey Mears, who just roadblocked his own teammate. So that's probably going to allow the 31 to make up a little bit of time if he doesn't catch the 25 in an awkward spot like Johnson did. But he will. Now Mears is going to roadblock P2. Casey Mears being an idiot as usual. Gee guys, I wonder why he loses his ride to Mike Martin after 08. I don't know why they're trying to race like they're any sort of competitive. I guess he felt bad for roadblocking Jimmy, and I was like, hey Jimmy, I'll hold everyone else up for you. Damn. Kevin LePage is going to hold up Jimmy Johnson. LePage got a top 10 a couple of years ago in the Daytona 500 back in 2004, I believe that was. But now Stewart or Burton is about to get to use Kevin LePage as a pick. It depends what lane he takes. He's going to go high. And I think we have a caution. Yes, we do. Big trouble. Gilliland for the 3rd week in a row is wrecked. 4th week. Oh, still gliding down the front straightaway. They're still piling into it. Gilliland on his roof. Newman involved. Don't pile driver into this if you're a lead lap car. Just back it down. And we're going to take a look at what happened. Harvick with damage. Reed Sorensen in the 41. So this was for about 10th place, and it was the 6th of David Reagan who actually got into Ryan Newman. And he gets hit by Reed Sorensen. Harvick is the one to send Newman tumbling. And then Reigns and Andretti piling, multiple people piling in. I think Green, Vickers, and Riggs all drove in David Gilliland. And it was for a completely separate incident as well up here. Hamlin gets into Reagan. And that is just a vicious hit for Jeff Green in the 66. Because look at this. He's basically standing still. The car that hits him is going over 100 miles per hour faster. Look at this. Do all 4 tires leave the ground there? I think for a split second, all 4 tires on the ground left the ground for the... Yes, that is the case. Because look. You can see it. He is completely off the ground. But his right rear catches the ground and he lands back on all 4. Let's go on board with Jeff Green for that one. You just see how quickly that happens. He's back on the ground before he can even process what's just happened. Now here's what I would be interested in seeing. How Johnson fares in pit road with his terrible, horrible, no good pit stall. So there he is. He is going to get his service. And he may be done by the time these guys are stopped. So this may be not too bad under caution because of his bad stall. But here he comes off pit road. Here's Stewart and Burton and all of them. So it's not as much as a major disadvantage if you're just pitting under yellow, because everyone's still jammed up together. But dang, over half the field is out. And we're not even to the end of stage 2 yet. This just shows how much carnage there has been today. Green flag is back out. So Casey Mears gets a free pass, I've got to give him that. So it is a bad day to be a race car in Las Vegas because there's only 17 of them left on the racetrack. Johnson out front, Stewart in second, and Burton in third. Kevin O'Page may be guaranteed the top 15 if he can stay ahead of Earnhardt Jr., which he probably will. But still, there's about 8 competitive cars, I'd say, left. Because obviously, Earnhardt Jr.'s got damage. Harvick is Harvick up in this mix? Did Harvick wreck out? Yeah, Harvick wreck out. Junior isn't off the pace. We lost Harvick. We lost Newman. Hamlin was a top 10 car. We lost Kurt Busch, Kyle Busch, Jeff Gordon. And also this affects the midfield battle because so many of them crashed out. But it limits the chance of a late restart and having someone have their Chances as a winner, and we are on the white flag of stage number 2. I completely forgot of how chaotic this race has been. For 3 and 4, Jimmy Johnson will win stage number 2 here from Las Vegas. So Johnson wins the stage over Stewart, Burton, and Truex. And here we are down pit road again. Let's see if they can get ahead of the 48 off pit road, which is, does not appear that they will be able to. So Johnson leads them off pit road over Stewart, Kenseth, McMurray, potentially no, is going to be Truex, Burton, McMurray, and then Edwards. Kevin LePage, congratulations, you are back on the lead lap here for this next restart. Green flag back in the air as we accidentally fast forward for the restart zone. But we are back to racing here from Las Vegas. As here they are for 3 and 4, Johnson ahead of Stewart and Kenseth. And we are just about 40 laps from the finish of this race. Truex looks inside of Kenseth for second. Kenseth up the hill though. Stewart looking low on Johnson for the race lead. Johnson dominated in Phoenix last week, had pit road issues. This was after Jeff Gordon had dominated the early stages. Jeff Gordon had pit road issues, gets caught up in a crash. Jimmy Johnson has pit road issues, gets trapped a lap down behind several lap cars. So Denny Hamlin's dominating the middle and part of this race. And then we had a caution, and then another caution, and Johnson back on the lead lap. And back in the race. And then the game crashed last week, so we ended up not getting a proper conclusion to what was a very good race for Phoenix standards under the lights. McMurray there gets the wall off turn 4. Johnson still being trailed by Tony Stewart. They have started to get at third place, Martin Truex Jr. and Matt Kenseth. Johnson leads ahead of Stewart, Kenseth, and Truex, and Burton. I think we had more cars running at the end of Daytona than this, and Atlanta. So this is more of a rag fest than a super speedway race, for you to take into consideration. But we still have a decent battle for the lead. Stewart hounding Johnson. Can Stewart get by Johnson once these tires wear, once the good is gone from the good years? How badly will Johnson's pit stall affect him during green flag pit stops? Many questions to be answered here. The 48 car started 29th on the day. Was up in the top 5 by that time we got to lap 50. And now he is leading this race, walking away with the race lead. But Stewart's not letting him go away. But Kenseth is definitely holding up to everyone right here. They're about a second behind. 6/10. I thought it was more than that. So Truex is being forced to change up his lane. And that in return is going to let Jeff Burton get to the bottom. This may actually be good for Truex potentially. He may get a big enough run to go at Matt Kenseth here into turn 1. Let's take a look. Does this work for Truex? Peaks low. Cannot get there though. And Johnson just gapping Stewart by a little bit. Which is not what Stewart wants to see. The first lap car they're going to get is John Wood. So that could be Stewart's first passing opportunity on the 48 of Johnson. As we inch ever closer to lap 100. Mears or Page and Earnhardt Jr., they're all going to catch within about 5 laps of each other. So there are 4 passing opportunities for Stewart if he can stay with Jimmy Johnson in the 48. And now we're on lap number 97. Stewart still determined to give chase to Jimmy Johnson. As the battle for third still rages on, Kenseth is just holding everyone right there up. So Truex, he's going to take a look to the inside here. Can he get a good enough run to clear Matt Kenseth? Can he get Kenseth to make a mistake, put himself on the wall? No, he cannot. Here's the first opportunity for Stewart. With the 21 of wood, he's going to turn Jimmy Johnson around. Johnson into the inside wall hard. Caution flag is going to fly. Matt Kenseth to the race lead, and Jimmy Johnson's just been turned into the inside wall. Can you believe what you just watched? Jimmy Johnson from the lead of the race to the inside safer barrier. He's going to come down pit road. And he is not going to be happy with Tony Stewart in the 20 until he sees himself a replay. Wow, what an incredible view that is. Let's get a better look at that. So, let's get a look at the full speed view again. So Stewart's there, and Johnson's trying to come down. Well, guess what? There is no room there. Because again, we're going to look at this and slow it down a little bit. And bam, this is going to hurt. 150 miles per hour into the inside retaining wall. Let's take a look at it from the helicopter cam. And Stewart was just telling Johnson, hey, I'm right there. Let's go on board with Jimmy Johnson. You'll actually hear a lift out of the 48 of Jimmy Johnson. And Stewart also lost several positions out of that, so obviously he's not really happy. So let's take a look at what happened to Tony Stewart's view. Yeah, you can see Johnson visibly slow up. There was no point in pulling a move like that. Did the yellow never come out? Well, there's a yellow. I don't know why the game never called it. I was commentating like we had called a yellow. Okay, thank you, nr2003. So Johnson will wave around, get the free pass. I still don't know why the game didn't call it there. Casey Mears will get the free pass. Jimmy Johnson will wave around. Kenseth and Burton lead them off pit road. And Earnhardt Jr. will get by. And so will the 25 of Mears. Sorry for those watching at home, as Jeff Burton comes back down pit road from the race lead. So now Matt Kenseth will hold the lead. Yeah, sorry to those watching at home. I wholeheartedly expected the game to call the caution, and then it did not. I didn't go take a look. Johnson 2 laps down, so we'll see how quick he is though on this restart. And I think Jeff Burton is somewhere out here. Did he retire from the race? No, he did not. So less than 30 to go. How many more twists and turns does this race have for us? It is a Roush Racing 1, 2, 3 at the front. Kenseth, Edwards, McMurray. And then you have Truex Jr., Labonte. Kenseth has already won this year. Edwards has not. McMurray has not. Truex has not. Labonte has not. Nobody running out here except for Matt Kenseth has won this year. Except for Jeff Burton. I almost forgot about him. Green flag back in the air. Can Kenseth hold off his teammate? The answer is no. Edwards is going to immediately jump to the inside of 1 and 2. Edwards says, I want to win this race for myself and bring home the win. McMurray slots behind him in a second. So will McMurray have something to say about this before it's all said and done? Kenseth dropping back. Here comes Jamie McMurray on Carl Edwards. Labonte trying to clear Kenseth. Can't quite do it. Kenseth's going to get the runner on the outside. Here's Truex potentially making a move on Jamie McMurray. He goes to cover Tony Stewart now. Stewart trying to force him up the hill for 3 and 4. And these guys are faster than McMurray. I think McMurray does not have the pace that his teammate Carl Edwards has. And Truex has an understanding of that because now Truex is going to go to the bottom. McMurray able to hang off too. Truex getting a shove from Stewart, and that is what Edwards wants to see. His teammate holding up Martin Truex Jr., but Truex is going to clear for 3 and 4. So move Truex into second now. Can he do anything with the 99 car? Labonte's still hanging around the top 5. He wants to get past Jamie McMurray. He wants Kenseth to get by this 26 car. Now Truex peeking low on Carl Edwards. Truex may have a run at this race lead. So now Kenseth gets by McMurray. Truex and Edwards side by side for the lead into turn 1. Edwards drives it in deep on the outside though. And now here comes Stewart on Truex Jr. And Kenseth's not done yet. And Stewart's going to be able to hang low on Truex here. Since they're going to be side by side, but across the stripes, Tony Stewart has nosed ahead of Martin Truex Jr. here at the front. Can he clear? I thought we were wrecking there for a second. Side by side down the back straightaway they go. For the second position, Stewart and Truex. Stewart still nosing ahead from 3 and 4. He got into that incident with Jimmy Johnson. They're still going to be side by side across the line. Laps are clicking away for you to go make something happen. Truex again on that right rear of Tony Stewart for 1 and 2. They stay side by side for the second spot. Truex almost has Stewart cleared into 3, but Stewart's not going away. Truex may have tapped the wall there off turn 4. Stewart still giving a side draft down the front straightaway. Trying to not let the ones get clear again. But Truex, after fighting hard on the top side, he does get clear for second spot over Tony Stewart. And McMurray to the inside on teammate Kenseth. Burton 3 wide, over 3 wide. McMurray was not able to hold it there. That's going to let Jeff Burton get to the bottom. Potentially Bobby Labonte to the bottom. Burton had the pit there coming on the last lap before the restart, but he is back into the top 5 now. Not out of it at all. How about Ricky Rudd in the top 10? And they'll get into lap traffic soon. That'll be an opportunity. Will we see another incident like we did with Stewart and Johnson? And the lap times have fallen off 0.6 of a second. Truex looking low on Edwards. Truex definitely feels he is the quicker car, but we shall see if he really does. Burton looking low on Matt Kenseth. Burton gets to the bottom down the back straightaway. Kenseth can't close the door on him though. So now he's going to try to run Matt Kenseth up the racetrack here for 3 and 4. Kenseth gets on the wall. Jeff Burton is now into the 4th spot. So Kenseth certainly struggling with his car as the tires begin to wear. Edwards now going to get to the inside of John Ward, so will Truex and Stewart. And that caution that wiped out a good chunk of cars was caused by someone clearing themselves on a lap car, so you want to be careful while around John Ward. As McMurray has slipped back to Labonte and Kane. As they continue on down the back straightaway. Johnson and Mears next to be lapped by these guys. As we look at this little trio, trying to get around John Ward in the 21, and they will successfully. Here's Truex to make a move on Edwards for the race lead down into free, but they're going to have 2 lap cars side by side in front of him. Where can Edwards go? He has the lift. Martin Truex Jr. to the race lead. And this is all going to allow Jeff Burton to catch up. If Truex wants to win, he has to make it 3 wide here. Because look at Edwards. Edwards is getting away on the top side. And that's exactly what he's going to do. 3 wide. Oh, they're pitting. Truex and Stewart down pit road. Can they not make it to the end, they feel? Will we see green flag pit stops? Edwards gets into Casey Mears. Several cars pitting. McMurray, Kane, Stewart, Truex. Does Edwards feel he needs to pit? And now his biggest competition is going to be a lap down. So now he hopes for a caution so he can pit, throw some tires on, and still be ahead of the guys that were battling him. And now Burton is going to get by Casey Mears. Here down in the 1 and 2. And we'll see how much these fresh tire runners take off compared to Edwards. And we do have cars pitting. So will the top 3 come in, or do they continue to stay out? There's Earnhardt Jr. hitting pit road. Edwards with a 1.2 second lead over teammate Kenseth. Everyone pitted on the same lap, so I don't know what the thinking behind this was. Truex gonna get behind Kevin LePage and then he can set sail. So we'll really see how they compare. Stewart 26.5. What does Edwards run that lap? Edwards ran a 28.6. So 2 seconds a lap currently is how much faster they are. 26.63 for Truex that time around. Now Jeff Burton looking to the inside on Matt Kenseth for position. They're going to be side by side for second down the front straightaway. Burton feels he has something for Edwards. Kenseth clearly doesn't have anything for Edwards. Montoya gets into them on his much fresher tires. What do you do if you're Carl Edwards? You just see what you can do and try to hang on here to the checker. Hope there's not a yellow. Montoya in the 42 coming to Edwards right here. Here he comes. He's going to potentially get Edwards here into free. But a bunch of these guys are probably going to unlap themselves at least. Because here's Stewart, here's Truex. And they're still going to get by Casey Mears with a little effort. And Edwards is looking in his mirror, potentially looking in the big screens, hoping that these two don't wad it up. He just wants smooth sailing to the checkers. He's like, is that all a guy can ask for? And these two rightfully get out of the way for Stewart and Truex, who are much quicker right now. And Edwards is basically standing still now, because these two are still running 26s. So Burton probably too far back to do anything with Edwards now, especially with Kenseth trying to get second back. I don't understand the reasoning for some of these guys to pit though, because 4 cars are going to try to get to the end, which they'll probably end up being able to do. So we're probably going to have less than 10 cars on the lead lap when we do get the checker. Casey Kane is probably going to be the last guy that is able to lap. Because that's 5 seconds a lap Stewart and Truex are gaining. So they may only be 5 seconds behind Albani when they get to the checker, depending on how lap traffic treats them. White flag in the air for Carl Edwards from Las Vegas. 1 lap to go. Edwards had a bit of a challenge from Truex Jr. as they got into the lap traffic. But suddenly, Truex Jr. came down pit road. And now down the back straightaway for the final time, Carl Edwards didn't have the best car all day. That went to Jimmy Johnson. Johnson got turned around. But now Edwards is going to come to the checkered flag. He will win at Las Vegas. Edwards over Kane, Jeff Burton, Matt Kenseth, and Bobby Albani is going to bring it home in the 4th position. Albani brings it home with the top 5. How far back did Stewart and Martin Truex Jr. end up? 18 seconds. So they still nearly caught Bobby Albani. If they hadn't gotten hung up by John Wood, they probably would have. But let's take a look at Carl Edwards' victory celebrations here.